Deacon, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you loud and clear. How are you, Watson? How's everything?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
It's been a long time, man. It's been a long time, brother. I've been occupied with a few things, mainly work, but thank God, the Most High allows it where I'm able to continue on with the show because of the switch of times. So all praises to the Most High. Glad to be back. Glad to see you, and
All right.
thank you for having us today.
I'm glad to have you back here on the Abyss. It's been a while. It's been a
Yes,
while.
sir.
It feels like ages. Uh, I don't remember the last time you were here. I think that was in November.
Yep.
Yeah,
Around, I would say November. Yes,
yeah,
it's
but
been a long time.
But it's good to have you back. And today's topic, we are going to be discussing a very, very, very interesting topic. There's been a debate concerning about the movie that is going to be released on 10th of May this year, 2023. The Queen Cleopatra. That's the movie that is going to be released. And
Ah,
there's been so many, 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 many comments to say what race was Cleopatra? Was she black or was she white or was she mixed race? We understand that Cleopatra was a powerful female ruler in Egypt and Macedonia dynasty, and she ruled Egypt as the dominant co-ruler in the year nearly 30 years, and she made powerful alliances with Rome through Julius Caesar. But the question might be, what race was Cleopatra? Because there's been so many arguments to say she was white. Some say she was black, and one lawyer in Egypt had actually gone to court to get a ban of the movie that is about to be released and to sue the producers. So why is the identity of Cleopatra very important?
okay.
Let's touch on that.
All right. First, I had another topic in mind, but we're gonna start off with this. There's an echo in the back. I could hear myself. Just turn it down a bit. Okay. So we're gonna start off with this, and then we'll segue into what I wanted to discuss. I know there's a lot of commotion going on via social media in regards to this topic, right? The Arab man, the Ishmaelite man, the Arabians are upset. The Egyptians are upset because Jada Pinkett Smith, who's a producer of this Netflix series, casted a black woman as Cleopatra. Let me show you something. Get me the book of Numbers, chapter 1, verse 18. Let's start with there first, so we can just get a bit of understanding of what God has to say.
Numbers chapter 1 and verse 18. And they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month. And they declared their pedigrees after their families.
They declared their what?
Pedigrees after their families.
They declared their pedigrees after their family. The pedigree is your posterity, your children, your nationality, for lack of better words. The pedigree is always declared after the house of who?
By the house of their fathers.
By the house of their fathers. Read that one more time, because I want you to get the understanding of what God is saying here.
And they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month. And they declared their pedigrees after their families by the house of their fathers.
So your nationality, Watson, and all the brothers and sisters of Malawi who are paying attention, your nationality is determined by the house of your father. I'll give you an example. If your father is a so-called African American, then that means you are a so-called African American, a so-called black man. So let's say you have a man who decides to marry a woman from China, a Chinese woman. They have a baby. Although the baby might come out light skin with chinky eyes or whatever Asian features, that child is still a black child. Hence, you have a man by the name of Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods, okay, guess what? He's black. Even if he didn't have that complexion, he would still be considered a black man. Why? Because of his dad. because of his dad. Read that one more time so everybody can hear it again.
Numbers chapter 1, verse 18. And they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month. And they declared their pedigrees after their families by the house of their fathers.
So this is the mind state that we got to come in. Our mind got to be in tune to what God says, not what we learned in the Western Hemisphere or Eastern Hemisphere, which is basically white man doctrine, white man ideology, which tells you that your nationality is dependent upon your mom. They follow what's called a matriarch system. We don't follow that. God has ordained a patriarch system. That's why when you ever read the Bible, it's always making reference to whom? Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Whenever you read the scriptures, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that's what it's about. And guess what? A lot of our forefathers, they also married heathenish women who weren't Israelites. But the children that came out of those women, they were Israelites. Okay, so it's after the seed of the father. Give me Isaiah 55 and 8. So we have to let go of this matriarch thinking, okay, and come under the banner of the patriarchs, which is Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's what God ordained in the Bible. Isaiah 55 and 8.
Isaiah chapter 55 and verse 8. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways,
so
saith the Lord.
You hear that, kids? Our ways, Watson, will tell you, well, you are what your mother is. Our ways would tell you to follow a matriarch system, but that's not biblical. Okay, now get me the book of Maccabees. I believe it's in the first chapter about Alexander the Great. Have you ever heard of a man called Alexander the Great?
Oh yeah, I've heard about him.
Okay.
I've heard about him.
Okay, was a so-called white man. Okay, and before he died, he elected a few of his colleagues, a few of his friends to control the realm, the providences that came under his dominion, his rulership. He parted it amongst his childhood friends. All right, this is going to answer the question about Cleopatra in a minute. All right, read First Maccabees chapter 1 and start at verse 5. Verse 5.
The book of First Maccabees chapter 1 verse 5.
Actually, I'm sorry, start at verse 4. Verse 4.
First Maccabees chapter 1 verse 4. And he gathered a mighty strong host and ruled over countries and nations and kings who became tributaries unto him.
So Alexander the Great was a mighty conqueror. Okay, he conquered many nations. Many of them were the dark nations. He put them under his control. Read on.
And after these things, he fell sick and perceived that he should die.
So after these things, Watson, Alexander the Great got sick and then he eventually died. Okay, he died from syphilis. He was a homosexual, by the way. Okay, he died from an STD. That's what he died. But before he died, this is what he did. Read.
Verse 6. Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable, and had been brought up with him from his youth.
Come on.
And parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive.
So he parted his kingdom from amongst these men that he grew up with from his youth, Watson. Okay? He grew up with these men and he told them, look, I'm about to die. You guys are going to be in control of all the places that I conquered. You guys are going to be the new kings on the earth. Not regular kings, not black kings, white kings, because all of these people that he elected to these positions, they were of the white Caucasian race. The Bible calls them Esau, Edom. That's very important. Think about what we discussed so far. Numbers chapter 1, verse 18. God says you are the seed of your father. You are what your father is. Now, Alexander the Great, who was about to die, he put these people into positions that he grew up with. These were white men. Read on.
Verse 7. So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died. And his servants bare rule everyone in his place.
Come on.
And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves.
So after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their what?
So did their sons after them many years.
So did their sons many years. Now, one of these sons One of these guys that came into rulership, his name was Ptolemy. Ptolemy, the first Soter, S-O-T-E-R, Ptolemy. Okay, that was one of the men that ruled. This was one of the men that was ruling. He was a white man. Do you know what area he was a king over? He was a king over Egypt. Ptolemy was a king over Egypt. This was a Caucasian man, an Edomite man. Give me First Maccabees. Now, First Maccabees, chapter 10, verse 57, please. Okay, so now it's time, brothers and sisters, to return to the Bible, learn your true history, learn real history, what we're showing you. And guess what? This is going to upset a lot of black people, what I'm about to say. But God don't care about your feelings, okay? We got to reform our minds to think the way God thinks, okay? First Maccabees, chapter 10, verse 57.
First Maccabees, chapter 10, verse 57. Mm-hmm. So Ptolemy went out of Egypt with his daughter Cleopatra.
So Ptolemy, who was a white man, went out of where?
Went out of Egypt with his daughter Cleopatra.
So the original Egyptians at this point, at this time, a majority of them was already pushed out of the land. The original Egyptians were black people who looked just like you and I, but they were from a different race, believe it or not. They were from the seed of Ham. Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Japheth, and Ham. Okay, they were all black people. We come from Shem, okay, and the original pure-blooded Nilotic Egyptians come from Ham. Okay, a lot of them was pushed out of that country, but there was a white king over that whole region from Egypt all the way down to Sudan, okay, all the way down to Pathros. His name was Ptolemy. And who was his daughter? Read it again. First Maccabees 10:57. You're going to read all the way to 58. Go ahead.
Verse 57. So Ptolemy went out of Egypt with his daughter Cleopatra, and they came unto Ptolemaeus in the 162nd year, where King Alexander, meeting him, gave unto him his daughter Cleopatra, and celebrated her marriage at Ptolemaeus with great glory, as the manner of kings is.
So Cleopatra was the daughter of Ptolemy. Right, Watson? We just read in Numbers chapter 1, verse 18, that you are whatever your father is. Ptolemy had sex and married a Hamitic woman who's also dark-skinned, a Hamite, but he was white. So what was Cleopatra according to God? If Cleopatra's father is white, but Cleopatra's mother is black, what is Cleopatra?
Okay, now Cleopatra is mixed race somehow, I think. But no, you say the nationality is determined by...
There's no mixed race. Not what I said. Let's read it again for Watson. You seem a little confused. Numbers chapter 1, verse 18. Not what I said. Let's see what God said. Numbers 1, verse 18, please.
Numbers chapter 1, verse 18. And they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the 2nd month. And they declared their pedigrees after their families by the house of their fathers.
Now, let me give you a perfect example. I love to bring up this illustration, Watson. If you view the screen, okay? This man right here, his name is Bill de Blasio. He was a former mayor of New York City. New York City is located in the United States of America. Okay, for those of you who don't know. He was a mayor of New York. His wife was a so-called Negro, a woman of African descent. Look at his son and look at his daughter. Now, looking on the outside in, you'll see this young man and you'll be like, oh, he's black. He's brown skinned. He has an afro. Oh, she's black. She's brown skinned. She has kinky hair. But guess what? Since the seed of the father determines the nationality, they are not black. Those are chocolate-covered Edomites. That's what the Bible says. So that's what we're going to teach. A lot of people is going to get offended at this. But it is what it is. God says that we declare the pedigree after the house of the father. So what is Cleopatra? Cleopatra is a dark-skinned white woman. Cleopatra is really, she's really of Edom. She's of Edomite descent, although she might look black, because her father was Ptolemy of Egypt. Her father was a white man. So, two things. Black people have no say in this because Cleopatra is not our people, although she's dark-skinned. I know it's a tough pill to swallow. It's a very hard pill to swallow. Her father's white, so she's white. And also those Arabs, those Ishmaelites, they definitely don't have a leg to stand on, because first and foremost, the Arabs are not the original Egyptians. And I know a lot of people's going to start hooting and hollering. The black woman probably ripped off her wig and threw it. The black Muslim woman over there in Malawi, she's probably upset and angry right now. Some of them are married to Arabic men. Guess what? The Arabs are not the original Egyptians. And the reason that they're making a big commotion about this is because if you think that Cleopatra is black, right? I'm not talking about nationality now. I'm just talking about appearance, because she looks like she's a black woman. She has dark skin, right? I'm talking about the melanin. If that vibration goes out into the atmosphere and people start to research Egypt, they're going to find out that all the pharaohs prior to the Ptolemaic dynasty were all black. Nefertiti, black. Ramses, black. The original Egyptians were black people. So the Arabs have no leg to stand on. They got into that land during the time of the Ottoman Turks. You have Edom, when you had white men mixing with Arabic men, they came from Turks, hence the name Turkey. A lot of those Arabs, they came from Turkish lands. They conquered Egypt. Okay? Those are not the real Egyptians. Those are Arabic people, Arabians, okay, in the land today. So they have no leg to stand on at all. They should even talk. Whatever movies come out, they should just shh and be quiet. They have no leg to stand on, okay? So now that we fix that, who are the brothers in Malawi? Who are the people of Malawi? Let me show you something. Get me Deuteronomy 32, verse 26, I think it is. Let me find it. Make sure I'm calling out the right scripture. Deuteronomy 32 and verse 26.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 32 and verse 26. I said, I would scatter them into corners. I would make the remembrance of them to cease from among men.
Now, no, who's speaking here? Watson? Who's the person that said I would scatter them into corners? Who's speaking here? The Almighty God, Yahweh. He is the one that's speaking. He said, look, I'm going to scatter the real Israelites into corners. I'm going to make the remembrance of them to cease from among men. So people are going to stop remembering who we are. They're going to call you Zimbabweans. They're going to call you Ghanaians, Sierra Leoneans. They're going to call you all these different titles and names that God didn't give you. They're going to call us African American. They're going to call us Negroes. Who caused that to happen? God. Why did God cause that to happen, Watson? Watch this. Deuteronomy 28, verse 15, please.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
You hear that? God said all of these curses are going to come upon us and overtake the Malawian people. All of these curses are going to come upon us and take over the Nigerian brothers and sisters, okay? All of these curses are going to come upon us and take over the Jamaicans, the Haitians, right? Hence the names that we were given, because God called us Israelites, but the nations, they have other names for us. This was part of the curses. This is why there's a confusion of faces. We don't know who we are. We was cut off from our true nationality as the Israelites. Okay, God said this thing would happen to us because we broke his commandments. Jump up to verse 48.
Verse 48.
No, verse 47. Verse 47.
Verse 47. Because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart, for the abundance of all things.
You hear that, Watson? We were supposed to serve God with the abundance of heart. That's why he allowed our enemies to come and scatter us by way of cargo slave ship, by way of exile, by way of diaspora, by way of colonization. God allowed these things to happen to us, Watson, because we kept on breaking his laws. We weren't joyful in keeping God's commandments. We weren't joyful in keeping his high holy days, but we're joyful in Christmas. We're joyful in Mother's Day, Father's Day, Thanksgiving. I don't know if they celebrate Thanksgiving over there in Africa, but in America they do. We're joyful in all these different Hermetic, Nihilotic spiritualities that we came across when we migrated deeper south into Africa. Okay, these are the things that we take heed to. These are the things that we hold dear to, and we follow it wholeheartedly. But we forgot who we are. Why? Because God said in Deuteronomy 32, verse 26, I'm going to make the remembrance of you to cease from among men. It's talking about the majority of the population, the whole world knowing that you are the Israelites. Because some people do. You have little pockets, little remnants of people in different nationalities, mainly the so-called white man and the Arab man. They know who you are. And I'm going to prove it. I'm going to prove it. I'm going to prove it beyond the shadow of a doubt on today's show that they know who you are. Okay? Watch this. Go up to verse 37. Verse 37. Come on.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 37.
Mm-hmm.
And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whither the Lord shall lead thee.
Whether the Lord shall lead us, we're going to be in an astonishment. Why do you think the Arabic man who has no say or so in anything about Egypt at all, because he's not the original Egyptian, why do you think he's hollering that Cleopatra is portrayed as a black woman? Why do you think he's making a big uproar about that? They get offended at that.
I was about to ask the same thing, to say we have watched there's so many movies about Jesus Christ out there, and then the actor is portrayed to be a white man, and we have never seen any reaction from black people to say, okay, why are you trying to portray Jesus Christ as somebody who is white? But this movie now, this Cleopatra movie, it's like these Arabs, they just came through all of a sudden and then start complaining.
Yeah.
That was the question I was about to ask you.
Yeah, exactly. Because the whole world, first and foremost, like I said earlier, Cleopatra has the appearance of a black woman, but the seed in her is of a white man, Ptolemy. But if we're just dealing from appearance and melanin and the hue of skin, the reason they're upset is, one, the whole planet Earth hates black people. And two, if you start to do the research, on the pharaohs, the men, the rulers, the ancient rulers of Egypt, and the women that were ruling, also the queens like Nefertiti, is all going to lead back to black people. So they don't want that, because they all come together to cut us off as a nation. They don't want us to know who we are, because the minute you realize, oh, if the original Egyptians are black and Joseph passed for an Egyptian, Moses passed for an Egyptian, the Apostle Paul in the New Testament was mistaken for Egyptian, oh, then that means the Israelites are black. Ding, 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 ding. Our people haven't realized that yet, Watson. Black people are still asleep. Right now, there should be a campaign all throughout Africa telling these Arabs that they're not the original Egyptians. But everybody just silent. Everybody's afraid. Everybody's afraid of the white man. Everybody's afraid of look at this. This is a statue of Pharaoh. Why they didn't put light-skinned red paint on it? Somebody needs to get in contact with one of these so-called Egyptians in Egypt today, these Arabs, and ask them to explain that. Ask them to get an Arabic man out of that. They can't do it. Okay? Give me Psalms, the 83rd chapter. Look at this. These are beautiful pictures right here, okay? These were black people ruling. Now, these weren't our people because they were of a Hamitic race, but they were still black as far as complexion. But you don't look at this. Look at the walls of Egypt. Look at the walls of Egypt. They can't even go throughout all of the pyramids and the Valley of Kings and walls and try to whitewash these images. Although they tried to get away with that in Dura Europa and Syria. But look at this. Black people, black pharaohs, black women, black men, black kids. There's no way around it. There's no way around it, but black people don't read and we stay silent. There should have been a social media campaign of even from the original Egyptians, who are the modern day pure-blooded Nilotic Watusis. They should have had a campaign to tell them to get the hell out of the land. Okay, but it was prophesied that the original Egyptians would be kicked out of the land. Okay, that's what God said in the Bible. You could read about that in the book of Ezekiel. Okay, but get me Psalms 83. Let me show you something. Psalms 83.
Psalms chapter 83, verse 1. Keep not thou silence, O God. Hold not thy peace and be not still, O God. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult.
So who is the enemies of God? King David is going to tell you. Right now, King David is prophesying. Okay, he's going to tell you in the spirit who are the enemies of God. Read.
And they that hate thee have lifted up the head.
They that hate thee have lifted up the head. How did they lift up the head? They're full of pride. They're arrogant. They're arrogant in their wickedness. They're arrogant in their destruction. They're arrogant in their guile. They're arrogant in their lies. What are the lies? That you and I are just black people. Okay? That you and I are just Africans. What else is their lie? That Cleopatra, okay, is an Arabic woman or a white woman. That's not true. Okay, they're very arrogant. But now he's going to tell you the nation of these people who are arrogant. Keep reading.
They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones.
Consulted against thy hidden ones. Come on.
They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation.
What nation? What nation in particular do you read about in the Bible, Watson? What nation? All throughout the Bible, from the book of Genesis all the way up to the book of Revelation, what nation do we read about?
The Israelites.
The Israelites. Why? Because the Bible, which is our record, is our book. It's our history, all right? It's our bibliography. It's our book of archaeology. Okay, this is our everything. Okay, read on.
That the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance.
Remember what I read earlier in Watson in Deuteronomy, the 32nd chapter, verse 26. God says, I will cut them off and I will cause them their remembrance to cease from among men. Now we're reading the same thing again. Read it again. Read that part again.
That the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance.
That the name of Israel, Watson, will be no more in remembrance. We will cut off. Is there more on that?
For they have consulted together with one consent.
So their main thing, they come together with one consent. One thing in mind. There's differences between these people because we're about to read about nations in the Bible. But one thing that they have in common is what? Read.
They are confederate against thee.
They are confederate against you, Watson. They are confederate against the Malawian people, Watson. They are confederate against the African Americans. They are confederate against the Bantu. They are confederate against the children of Israel because that's who we are and that's who we be. They have said what? Read.
The tabernacles of Edom.
Who's the first person, Watson, that they mentioned? The tabernacle of who?
Of Edom.
Edom is the so-called white man, Watson. Edom is the so-called white man. God says they are confederate against us. Read on.
And the Ishmaelites.
And the who?
And the Ishmaelites.
Who's the Ishmaelites today, Watson? Who is the Ishmaelites? Notice there's a list here. God gave you the #1 nation on his hit list. Edom. That's the so-called white race. Guess what? Ptolemy was an Edomite. Cleopatra's father was an Edomite. The second person on the list, he mentions who?
The Ishmaelites.
Who are the Ishmaelites, Watson?
The Arabs.
The Arabs. Very good. The Arabs. And guess what? We went into slavery under the Arabs. You had the Sanj slavery. Okay, you had the sub-Saharan slavery. Okay, the Arabs had us in slavery till this day. Still in Yemen, Libya, certain places, our brothers and sisters are still in slavery. A lot of these places they go to for work, and what does the Arab man do? They take their passports away and they mistreat them. They beat them, they rape them, and they give them slave wage labor. You work all day, 8-hour, 10-hour shift just to make $1 US. That's slavery, and it's still going unto this very day. Okay, you look at the bottom right here, Watson. Can you see that? What's highlighted in red? Arab slave traders captured by the British pose after their landing in Zanzibar. So who are these men right here sitting down? They were Arab slave traders captured in Zanzibar. Why did they go to Zanzibar for? To get black slaves. Why did they go to Malawi for? To get black slaves. Why did they go to Tanzania, Uganda, Ethiopia, Eritrea? To get black slaves. Mozambique, get black slaves. Read that part again about the enemies. Come on.
They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance.
That the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. Now get me Luke. I want to show you something. We're going to jump back. So before we ended up in Africa, this is what Christ told us what would happen. Give me Luke chapter 21. You know what I want.
The book of Luke.
This is now, Watson, we're going to take a couple of steps back. Before we got into Africa, Christ warned the Israelites about something. Go ahead.
The book of Luke, chapter 21, verse 20.
Come on.
And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains.
Then let them which are in Jerusalem flee to the mountains. What mountains? The mountains of Egypt. The same place that the angel Gabriel told Christ, his mom, and his father to flee to when Christ was born. In Egypt. Deeper, 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 deeper south into Africa. Okay? So Christ said, when you see the destruction of Jerusalem coming by Rome, the white man flee into Africa. Read on.
And let them which are in the midst of it depart out.
So when we departed, where did we go? Where did we go, Watson? We went to Egypt. Okay. We went to Libya. And
Deacon?
Go ahead.
Deacon?
Yes, I'm listening.
You were breaking. I couldn't hear the last part.
Okay, I was saying when we migrated deeper south into Africa, we started to set up different kingdoms. Now, Officer Obadiah, can you read this for Watson and his viewers? This is in a book called From Babylon to Timbuktu on page 84. Let's listen to what the great historian had to say. What happened to the Jews? Read.
In the year 65 BC, the Roman armies under General Pompey captured Jerusalem. In 70 AD, General Vespasian and his son Titus put an end to the Jewish state with great slaughter. During the period of the military governors of Palestine, many outrages and atrocities were committed against the residue of the people. During the period from Pompey to Julius, it has been estimated that over 1 million Jews fled into Africa, fleeing from Roman persecution and slavery. The slave markets were full of black Jewish slaves.
You hear that? So we went and migrated deeper into Africa. Let's get some more proof. All right. And these are scriptures that, Watson, that you heard before, I'm sure, and some of your listeners, especially those who are somewhat familiar with our viewership and listening to IUIC. Okay, get me Zephaniah 3 and 10. There's the book of Zephaniah, because Zephaniah prophesied about the same thing. Go ahead. Come on.
This is the book of Zephaniah, chapter 3, verse 10.
Come on. Hello.
From beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, my suppliants, even the daughter of my dispersed shall bring mine offering.
You hear that? Beyond the rivers of Ethiopia. Okay. You have many countries beyond the rivers of Ethiopia. Okay. Malawi's not too far. Kenya's not too far. Okay. Another map would do. This one is hard to read. But we set up different kingdoms from beyond the rivers of Ethiopia. Okay, we had different empires, okay, where the Jews were ruling before, guess what? The curses of God came to pass and we went into slavery under the other nations. Okay, read that again.
Zephaniah chapter 3, verse 10. From beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, my suppliants, even the daughter of my dispersed shall bring mine offering.
Keep reading.
In that day shalt thou not be ashamed for all thy doings, wherein thou hast transgressed against me. For then I will take away out of the midst of thee them that rejoice in thy pride.
Keep reading.
And thou shalt no more be haughty because of my holy mountain.
And thou shalt no more be haughty because of my holy mountain. Read on.
I will also leave in the midst of thee an afflicted and poor people, and they shall trust in the name of the Lord. The remnant of Israel shall not do iniquity nor speak lies. Neither shall
the Lord. So when we migrated into these different, okay, so hold on, the internet is buffering. All right, can you check? Can you hear me, Watson? Look like this.
Yeah, I can hear you, but you were breaking up.
Okay, you can hear me? Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Seems like the internet on your end. You can hear me. Okay, perfect. So now let's go into a little bit of history. Give me the article on Zambia. Give me the article on Zambia and Malawi relations. Okay, I want to show you something here. All right. Okay, let's read the first. Let's read, because prior to Malawi becoming its own country, I believe there was something called the Federation of Rhodesia. Are you familiar with that, Watson?
Oh yeah. Oh yes, I am.
Okay, you're familiar with it. Okay, excellent. So basically what it was a conglomerate of different countries that were one before they all separated. Okay, but watch this. Read Malawi and Zambia relations, please.
Malawi-Zambia relations. Malawi and Zambia have had a close history for a long time.
So you guys share a close history for a long time. Who are we talking about? Malawi and Zambia. Read on.
They share common values.
So you share common values. Read on.
History, language, culture, and border.
Read on.
They were one country along with Zimbabwe.
So at one time, you guys were one country along with Zimbabwe, and you shared the same history, culture, language, and so forth. Read on.
Under the Federation of Rhodesia and Nyasaland, Malawi has a large Zambian diaspora, and Zambia has a large Malawian diaspora.
So Zambian has a large diaspora of Malawian people, and Malawi has a large diaspora of Zambi people. Let me repeat that. Malawi has a large diaspora of Zambian people. Okay, why? Because at one time, both countries were one. Now, we read in the Bible, the Israelites was kicked out of the land of Jerusalem, and they migrated deeper south into Africa, where they set up different kingdoms. a lot of times they named these places after their own names. That's why in the, I'm not sure if we have it, if we have the Negro map where it shows Judah, the kingdom of Judah. Or you can put up the other map that you just had with the Levite territories. We could use that too as well. Okay, so a lot of the times, Watson, we named places after our own names. So let's zoom in. Let's zoom in so Watson could see, so he don't think I'm lying. Okay, please zoom in to where I'm supposed to say Judah. I don't know if you could zoom in. If you can't, let me know. Okay, I'm assuming you can't because you haven't zoomed in yet. So do you see this right here, where right here that's highlighted in red, Watson?
Oh yes. Oh yes.
What does it say? What does it say?
It reads Gold Coast, I think.
Yeah, right here. You see where my cursor is? There's another one that's there's another red box that's highlighted. What does it say? It says Kingdom of Judah. Kingdom of Judah, Judah, Israelites. Okay, so we also named places after ourselves. Now get me First Esdras. Now get me First Esdras. Now, please, First Esdras. So keep that in mind, Watson. We ran out of Israel. We migrated into Africa. A lot of these places we named after ourselves, just like the Kingdom of Judah, okay, also known as Judah, in the Gold Coast. Now watch this. Give me First Esdras chapter 9. And I want you to start at verse 23. We're going to bounce around.
First Esdras chapter 9 and verse 23. Mm-hmm. And of the Levites, Josabad.
So who are the Levites? Who are the Levites? Watson, who are the Levites? Levites. I'm pretty sure you know who the Levites are. You read the Bible before. Who were the Levites? What were their job or position?
Okay, the Levites were the sons of Aaron, I think.
Very good. And
their job was
to what?
They were living in the temple to make sacrifices.
Yes, they were priests. They were the priests of God. Okay, the ones that descended out of the line of Aaron, they were called high priests. Okay, but you had other Levites who had different jobs in the temple and so forth. Jump up to verse 18 just to clarify that point.
Verse 18. Mm-hmm. And of the priests that were come together and had strange wives, there were found.
So Esdras was also a priest. He wrote the book of Ezra in the Bible. He called the priests. This is after they came back from Babylon captivity. When we were in Babylon, what did we do, Watson? We married strange wives. We married heathen wives. We married non-Israelites. So the priests did this. So Esdras called them. Now what he's doing, he's going to write down of the names of the people that came back from Babylon. And he's also going to write down the names of those who married strange wives. Okay, read verse 23 again.
Verse 23, and of the Levites.
And of the Levites, hold on. And of the Levites, jump to verse 34. He's going to name the Levites. Go ahead.
Verse 34, mm-hmm. And of the sons of Mani, mm-hmm. Jeremiah, Mamdis, mm-hmm. Omareus, mm-hmm. Juel, Mabda, and Pelias, and Anos, Carabasian, and Anasibus, and Manoptomeneus, Eliasis, Banis, Elieli, Samus, Selemaeus, Nathanias, and of the sons of Ozora, Sais, Ezreal, Azaleus, Samatus, Zambis, Josephus.
Zambis, Z-A-M-B-I-S. This same Zambis was a Levite. He was a Levite. And remember, look at the name. What stands out? Watson, what stands out with that name that we just went over? And I showed you the relation between Malawi and what country? What country was Malawi joined together with? They shared the same diaspora, the same religion. Zambia, yes. So this Zambia comes from the name Zambis. Zambia comes from the name Zambis. I'm going to show you now. Because some of you might be like, well, you're reaching too far. Let's show you. What language, when you guys were conquered by the Arabs, right? What language did you speak? What language came out of your enslavement with the Arabs? Because the Arabs know who you are. The Bantus, right? What language do you guys speak over there, mainly?
Like in Malawi or?
Malawi, yes, Malawi.
We speak Chichewa. There's so many languages, I should say. But
okay,
mainly.
Give me the Bantu and the mainly ones that the Bantu speak. Okay, what language do you speak besides English, Watson?
Chichewa.
Okay, do most of you speak Swahili?
No, but
you're saying no, but your guest is saying yes. So does anyone speak Swahili in Malawi?
Up north, I think. Up north. But not.
Okay. So here's the point. Here's the point. The Arabs, right? Swahili are Bantu words mixed with some Arabic words, okay, and probably some other African dialect or something. It's a conglomerate of 3 different languages, okay? In Uganda, they speak Swahili. In Zambia, they speak Swahili. In some parts of Malawi, like you said, up north, they speak Swahili. Now, get me the Google translator, please. Google translator of Malawi. I want to show you what the world knows, but you Malawian don't know. You're running around keeping Christmas. You're running around keeping African spirituality. You're running around worshiping the white man. You're running around keeping Easter. I'm going to show you something that the world knows that you don't know. Okay? So this is a Swahili to English translator. Okay, go ahead and hit play. Take a good look. Take a good look, Watson. What is the secret? We're going to show you. What is the secret? What is Malawi? The Levites. What are you? The Levites. What did the Arab man know? You are the Levites. Play it again. Play it again. That is your title. That's who you are. That's who you be. That's what the name Malawi means. From Swahili to English, it means the Levites. You were the lawgivers. You were the lawgivers. You were the priests. You weren't running around with bushes as pants and skirts and running around talking about no, that wasn't you. You weren't spear chuckers. God called you the Israelites. God called you the priests. Let him see it again. Look at that. Look at that. It means the Levites, even your name, even what you call yourselves, even the name means the Levites. I know this is something completely, this is overwhelming. This is breathtaking, and it's also thought-provoking. It's thought-provoking because now you should do what? Now this should even convince you more to do your due diligence into who you are in these scriptures, that you are the people of God. You are the people that was cut off from your nationality. You are the people that had your race taken, your women taken, your men taken, your law taken. God calls you Malawians the Levites. Okay? The name Levi means joined unto me. That's what it means. Why? Because you were joined unto God. Let's get that. Let's go to that. Where's that? In Genesis? Get me Genesis 29:34. So now you've seen it yourself. These are things that the white man hide from us. These are things that the Arab man hide from us. So whenever somebody refers to you as a Malawian, Watson, they're calling you the Levites because that's who you are. Okay? You had one of the priests in the Bible who had the name Zambia. And remember, Zambia and Malawi were one people. And Malawi has a majority of the diaspora that came from Zambia. God calls you the Levites. Now watch this. Genesis 29, verse 34.
The book of Genesis, chapter 29, verse 34. And she conceived again and bare a son and said, now this time will my husband be joined unto me.
Who's the husband? Who's the father, Watson? His name was Jacob. We come from Jacob. Okay, and Jacob had a son. And then he said, what? Now this time will my husband be joined unto me. Read on.
Because I have borne him 3 sons.
Read on.
Therefore was his name called Levi.
Therefore was his name called Levi. Now when you jump up to as far as serving God, go to Numbers, the book of Numbers 18, verse 4. Watch this. This is what God told us. Come on.
This is the book of Numbers, chapter 18, verse 4. And they shall be joined unto thee.
Who's the they that should be joined unto thee? Who is the they that should be joined unto thee? Go jump up to verse 2.
Numbers chapter 18, verse 2. And thy brethren also of the tribe of Levi.
You Malawians, go ahead.
The tribe of thy father. Bring thou with thee, that they may be joined unto thee.
Come on.
And minister unto thee.
Come on.
But thou and thy sons with thee shall minister before the tabernacle of witness.
Jump to verse 4.
Verse 4. And they shall be joined unto thee, and keep the charge of the tabernacle of the congregation.
Come on.
For all the service of the tabernacle, and a stranger shall not come nigh unto you.
Has strangers come nigh unto you, Watson? Yes. The white man colonized you. Has strangers come nigh unto you, Watson? Yes. The Arab man colonized you. But your name of who you are, you still hold your name. The name Malawi means the Levites. Is hidden in your name. And this is something that you never knew. This is something that you never knew. Okay, but now we have to what? Return back to God and be joined unto God. Come back to the service of God as his priest. Teach and keep the laws of God. Give me Hosea chapter 6, verse 1. Hosea chapter 6, verse 1. Come on.
The book of Hosea, chapter 6 and verse 1. Come and let us return unto the Lord.
So that's what we're teaching. That's what we're telling you. God is asking you. God is telling you. Well, not asking you. God is telling you, come and return unto the Lord. Return unto him. Okay, that's what we're doing on this radio show, brothers and sisters. Reach out to us. We have a congregation in Malawi. We have an actual physical location. You can come and congregate and keep the Sabbath with us. Okay, you can follow us at www.israelunite.org. That's www.israelunite.org. Read on. Come on.
For he hath torn, and he will heal us.
He has torn, and he will heal us. How did he tear us apart? How has he torn us, Watson? Slavery, destruction, curses. Read on.
He will heal us.
How has he healed us? This is healing. For you to know that the name Malawi means the Levites, for you to know that you are the children of God, for you to know that Christ is a black man that died for you and I, we got to repent and forsake and stop our sins and return unto him. Guess what? This is healing time, brothers. This is healing time. The whole world is looking at you as nothing. The whole world is looking at you as just a bunch of blacks on a continent. But God calls you the Levites, and you are joined unto him. Read on. Come on.
He hath smitten, and he will bind us up.
Come on.
After 2 days will he revive us.
Come on.
In the 3rd day he will raise us up.
And that's what's going on right here. After 350 years, after the first boat came over here, after the slavery, transatlantic slavery, we are being revived. We are being revived. No more are we dead bones without a nationality. No more are we dead bones without a heritage. We are the Israelites that the Bible speaks of. And you brothers in Malawi, you sisters in Malawi, you are the Levites. Thus saith the Lord. You are the children of God.
All right. Deacon, as we are winding up today's program, what are your final words?
My final words is what we just read in Hosea, the 6th chapter. Let's come back. The Lord has smitten us. The Lord had tore us up. Now God is binding us back and he's healing us. And the only healing that we have, brothers and sisters, is this Bible. The only healing that we have is this Bible right here. So we got to return back to God and keep his commandments Like I said, you can follow us at www.israelunite.org. That's www.israelunite.org. We also have a contact list over there on the website, and you can find the phone number for the direct person to contact in Malawi.
What is a nation?
Nation is men leading by example. Nation is family.